tuning into Sans Workshop. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. So today we're going to be reviewing Kingdom of Waves by Melissa de la Cruz. Honestly, this was a really good book. I was very mad when I got to the end because it leaves off on a very huge cliffhanger. Look, I think I purposely clocked in late. I got to work like 3 hours early as usual. And I purposely clocked in late because I'm like, I only have 20 pages. Like, I wasn't that late. I was like 5-10 minutes late. I'm like, no, I need to finish this book. You don't understand. And my boss and coworkers like, okay, all right. I mean, I usually never clock out on time, and I'm usually there an extra half hour to an hour, or in some cases, 2.5 hours. Because I love my job. So they were like, okay, you want to clock in like 5-10 minutes late? That's on you. That's how hooked I was. That is how hooked I was into the book. I'm just like reading it like, oh my God. I could not put it down once I got to the end. I will say, it was a struggle for me to like get into initially. I did struggle a little bit, but I think it was more of like reader's fatigue. I read so much. So I think it was more so reader's fatigue than anything. But once I finally like got into the book, I was sucked in. You know, I like the imagery. The Kingdom of Ophir. Anyone who is Ophir, think about colonialization. You know, their entire history has been rewritten by the invaders, the people who've conquered them. And for characters like Yvonne and Gin for short, they don't really know a lot of their history. What they do know is that their kingdom sunk, kind of like Atlantis, and they think that maybe they can make their kingdom rise again. They think physically make their kingdom rise, and it's more of a symbolic imagery, actually. Their people have been subjugated, you know, colonialism, and that's really the strongest imagery in this book, colonialism. They have been invaded and conquered and their history rewritten, and there is a prophecy that their kingdom will rise again, but everyone has it in their head like, oh, and maybe, I mean, it's a fantasy, so maybe physically their kingdom will rise up again, you know, instead of being sunken down like Atlantis, because that's what happened to it. However, I kind of read it more and interpreted it more as symbolic, like their kingdom will rise again, like the people will rise and retake their history, and they'll retake their identity, and they'll stop being subjugated and treated as lesser than, and having their history and their magic rewritten and undone and just erased, you know, because that's what colonialism does. It erases things, you know. And, you know, Melissa de la Cruz, she is Hispanic, so, you know, just think conquistadors in Mexico and, you know, all of South America, well, not all of South America. My world history is really rusty, okay? So she's leaning into that. You know, I'm Mexican. I'm a white passing Mexican. Although not that white passing, because everyone, when they meet me, they're just like, where are you from? What part of Mexico are you from? And I'm just like, how'd you know? And then people hear me speak Spanish, and they're like, oh, you are Hispanic. And I'm like, yes. Soy madre mexicana, okay? So I totally get where Melissa de la Cruz is coming from, and that's probably why I interpreted the book as such, right? I thought the fantasy was really, really interesting. I liked, again, the aspect of colonialism and how the fantasy aspect of it is really for people who are descendant of Ophirs. They have markings on their wrist, and that marks them as connected to kind of their ancestors, you know? Not kind of, like they are magically connected to their ancestors, and they have to pass a trial, and they can earn a specific magical trait based on the house they were in, like the noble house they were in, that which was connected to a god of their culture. It was really, really interesting, you know, how that was all explored and how it was just detailed and how the story was written. I really, really love Melissa de la Cruz's writing style. I said the same thing with Sibling. You know, it's been years since I read something by Melissa de la Cruz. I like her writing style. There's an ease to it. It's fluid. She's really good with her characterizations. You know, I really got invested in the plot. Again, I clocked into work a couple minutes late because I did not want to put the book down. I like read it straight for 2.5 hours. And they're like, "You're really going to finish this book?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm going to finish this book. And yes, I'm going to clock in, like, deal with it." Not as aggressively as that. I just, like, I had my headphones. I'm like, no. I can't clock in yet. I'm almost done. And they're like, "Okay, calm down." Like, "You're fine." So, luckily it was, like, not that busy. Otherwise, my boss would have been like, "No, I need you to clock in now." So I was just, like, saving graces, right? I was hooked. I really was hooked with the storytelling. I think the tension build-up was really well done. I think my only real issue with it is Eban and Gwyneth, right? They kiss somewhere near the end. And there are passages, like, you see time passing. However, you don't really see their relationship deepen during the time passing. You understand, like, he's kind of getting a crush on her, but you're not really seeing it reciprocated a lot. When we get closer to that kissing, you're just like, "Oh no, she does care for him." But I wish there had been more build up around those two characters romantically, because again, I'm not a really big romance reader. However, if you are going to include a romance in the book, I need to feel invested in it. You know, I don't want it to be the core of the story at all, but I need it to be believable. I need something more substantial to be there, you know, than just Eben's yearning and how he gets jealous when she hangs out with the other guy and her past with, you know, the prince, so to speak. I got it from him, but I didn't so much see the attraction for her. There are little notes, you know, thinking back, I'm like, "Oh yeah, you know, she did remark about this and she did remark about this," but I saw it more of like, are they friends? Are they not friends? Because even that's what she's like, "I guess we're friends," you know? From her point of view, it read more as platonic, right? It didn't feel romantic, not until the end where the stakes were high and the tension was rising, you know? That's when you really got to see her feelings for him come alive. And I guess I can kind of understand that because she was struggling herself, like her past, and being able to trust people and forming, like, they're both thieves, so they have a hard time trusting people. So I can understand it. However, I wanted a little bit more from her than just everything packed in the high tension moments in the near the end. Like, we got it from his character. I would have liked to see it more from her character, read more romantic rather than platonic. But overall, you know, I really was just hooked into this book. I was sucked in. I couldn't put it down. The tension was amazing. Let me just say, the tension was amazing. The plot twist at the end, I didn't see coming, but I did. Like, I knew something was off with that character. I just didn't know what was off with that character. And when I found out what was off with that character, I was like, "Oh, crap. Did not see that coming." Not at all. Like, I did and I didn't. From one character, not the other character. It's hard to explain that part. So it was a really, really good plot twist near the end. It was foreshadowed that there was something going to happen, but Melissa de la Cruz didn't just, like, spoil the book. You know, she still had a surprise there. And that's, again, why I like her storytelling, because she does include surprises with her tension. So, honestly, super enjoyed this book. I need book 2 in my hands, like, now. Please. And thank you. Pretty please. I need book 2. It was so good. I really, really liked it. So, in any case, thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your book and your friends. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, Happy reading.